Hi there, I'm Skaji. I'm a practicing witch and a professional tarot nerd. And I'm glad you're here.
Skaji!
Goodness, Gary. What is it?
It's terrible! A travesty!
Oh my. What's wrong?
They're going to put Freddy in the microwave!
They're going to put who into the what?
Freddy! In the microwave!
Okay. Take a deep breath. You're not making much sense. Now, tell me what's going on.
They are going to put Freddy in the microwave.
Freddy.
Yeah. They're going to put Freddie Mercury in the microwave.
Freddie Mercury.
In the microwave.
I think I understand now. You're talking about Mercury going retrograde.
Huh?
Mercury, the planet, is fixing to start another retrograde cycle.
Freddie does like to ride his bicycle.
This is a different kind of cycle.
A tricycle?
No, it's...
A unicycle?
No, Gary. It's when something repeats a series of things regularly in the same order.
Oh. Why didn't you just say so?
Gary, let's talk about what Mercury retrograde means, and maybe some of these things will make a little more sense.
Okay.
Do you remember from school that all the planets in our solar system go around the sun at different speeds?
I sure do. It was Johannes Kepler who first accurately described the heliocentric model of our solar system in the 17th century.
Wow, Gary, you really were paying attention that day. Good job. Sometimes, because the planets are moving at different speeds and we look at them from here on Earth, they look like they're going backwards.
The planets go backwards?
Oh, not at all, Gary. But it can look that way from Earth sometimes. That's called apparent retrograde motion, and all the planets do this from time to time. If you want to learn a little more about this, I've put a link in the video description for you.
Cool, thanks. I like to watch sciencey videos. But why would people be worried when Freddy is in the microwave?
Well, that's where we stop talking about astronomy and start talking about astrology. But first, let's have a little chat about the weather. That's a thing people talk about, right? I mean, there's not a whole lot we can do about the weather, is there? I mean, if it's cold, we can put on a coat. If it's raining, we can grab us an umbrella. And you probably shouldn't wear those blue suede shoes. And don't forget the sunscreen when you head out to the lake or the beach.
I like to wear my galoshes.
What?
Galoshes. They're rubber boots you wear in the rain.
Ah, yes. Thank you, Gary. When it comes to weather, we can watch the forecast and get a good idea of what we're in store for so we can prepare. But no matter what, all we can do is prepare for and respond to the weather. So we might as well talk about it. And let's do that. Let's talk about the weather. The space weather.
There's weather in space?
There is. There's the solar wind, geomagnetic storms, meteors, and other phenomena as well.
Cool.
But what we're talking about today are astrological events and not astronomical events.
Oh.
I've said it before, but it bears saying again. I am not an astrologer. But I know a little bit about it, mostly from my study of the tarot and the concepts of magical timing. So what is the astrological space weather?
I don't know.
That's okay, Gary. I'll try to explain it a little bit. You see, we're surrounded by spiritual energy, kind of like being in a boat on the ocean. And in the ocean, there are tides, and there are waves and currents, islands and continents, and all these interact with one another and with the boats on the surface. What's the matter, Gary? You You look a little green,
I get seasick.
but you're not on a boat right now.
I have a good imagination.
Yes, yes you do. Well, here on good old solid Earth, we can be affected by the interaction of the spiritual energies surrounding us, and those energies also have tides, waves, and currents. And the movement of the planets can be seen as indicators of those currents. Now, it's probably a good idea for me to say at this point that I don't see astrological influences the same way as some folks do.
Really?
Yeah, I think the space weather can influence things, but they aren't destiny. Just because someone has certain things in their natal chart doesn't mean that they aren't in charge of their lives. They may have certain tendencies and attributes because of those influences, but they don't have to be controlled by those influences. For example, little children first learn the language spoken around them, but they aren't destined to speak only that language. People can and do learn more than one language if they want to.
Coach, invade Dijon.
What?
I learned Klingon.
Machka. Anyway, it's like the old nature versus nurture argument in psychology. Our natural tendencies and our environment interact within each of us, but even those aren't destiny. We can still choose to make changes within ourselves.
Like resisting my natural tendency to eat all the cookies.
Exactly. There was an Arab Muslim philosopher called Al-Kindi who wrote about all sorts of things in the 9th century of the Common Era, and is considered by some to be the father of Arab philosophy. Like many folks of his time, he was influenced by the Neoplatonic philosophy of Greece, but he also had an interesting take on magic and how it works, including how the space weather works to influence things here on our little third rock from the sun. There's a link in the description to a good video about this. But to summarize it as I understand his ideas, the planets emanate rays of energy which can influence things here, and that those rays also influence one another. Furthermore, things here on Earth emanate rays of energy of their own which interact with one another. All these interacting rays create a great big web of energy, and if one can learn all of these interactions, then one can also learn how to use those energies for themselves.
It's like a great big spider web.
I guess you could see it that way, Gary. It's as good an analogy as any, I suppose. So when we talk about Mercury Retrograde, we're talking about just another energetic current with which we interact. Sure, it can cause problems, just like a particularly rainy day can cause problems. But if we're prepared for it, we can avoid many of those problems. Mercury goes retrograde 3 or 4 times a year for about 3 weeks. Now, the last retrograde of 2024 is from around November 25th to December 15th. And here are some dates for 2025. Astrologically speaking, the planet Mercury influences things like communication, technology, and travel. All of these are associated with the element of air. When Mercury goes retrograde, it can influence those things in unhelpful ways. We may have more difficulty expressing ourselves efficiently, or more difficulty understanding what others are trying to express. We may find our tech acts up more often than normal, or we may experience travel delays.
What can we do about it?
I'm glad you asked. I call these things Mercury Retrograde umbrellas.
Galoshes.
What?
Galoshes. They're rubber boots you wear in the rain.
Very well. Mercury Retrograde galoshes, if you prefer. Anywho, a lot of the things I find most helpful are all about slowing down and thinking things through more carefully. You can up or start your meditation game. Drink a calming tea. Be more thoughtful in your communications and the things that you say. Proofread everything twice. And do you really need to send that email or text right now? Practice patience. And be ready to adapt to changing situations.
Daddy, aren't these things you tell me about all the time?
Well, sure. All these things can be helpful at any time. But when Mercury is retrograde, it's helpful to be more aware of these kinds of things.
Is there anything else I can do when Eddie is in the microwave?
Well, sure. You can do some magic to help you.
Ooh, I like magic.
Me too. You might make yourself a candle to help. Some magic shops might have oils or sprays to help as well. And you could even carry a few stones and herbs with you. Some of the stones and herbs that I think are helpful in Mercury retrograde are labradorite, which is a stone I find helpful for clearing the fuzz out of the mind. And black tourmaline is a great general purpose protective stone. Amazonite is useful for clear thinking. And sodalite is another stone for the mind, and I find that it also helps with clear communication as well. Lavender is a calming herb extraordinaire, and white sage is a great cleansing herb.
And that will make everything okay?
Well, no. But just like when it rains, if we're prepared, we have a better chance of avoiding problems.
Suvrap, Klingon, Suri.
Gesundheit.
That was Klingon, not a sneeze. It means a Klingon warrior is always prepared to fight.
It is a good idea to be prepared. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today. If you've enjoyed your time, please like, subscribe, share, comment. I'm Skaji.
And I'm Gary. Kapla!
Safe journey.